there, and Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that.
Cunningham hit the floor hard, and she is being helped off the floor.
Sophie Cunningham didn't leave the game on her own terms. She collapsed after a brutal collision with Bria Hartley, clutching her knee as teammates rushed to her side. Fans watched in stunned silence as she was carried off the court, her season gone in an instant. That scene alone was devastating, but the headline that followed set the league on fire.
It's sad. It's very, very sad and unfortunate what has happened to Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham, let's be clear here. Sophie Cunningham was targeted. Let's be very, very clear here.
Bria Hartley wasn't only suspended, she was being sued for assault. A routine basketball game had spilled into the courtroom, and the WNBA suddenly looked less like professional sport and more like chaos without rules. The question spread quickly. Has the league lost control of its own product? When dirty play crosses into lawsuits, the future of the sport is on the line. Like, subscribe, and comment if the WNBA has finally gone too far, because what comes next proves this wasn't just bad luck. It was a pattern ignored until it boiled over.
Backed it down low, and she can get a lot of people in foul.
Bria Hartley didn't suddenly turn into the villain of the league on one unlucky night. Her reputation was built across years of reckless, dangerous plays that pushed past the line of competition. Fans remember when she yanked Angel Reese out of the air by her hair. They remember Becca Allen slammed down like a sack of laundry. Now Sophie Cunningham has been added to that list.
My goodness.
Her season destroyed by the same player everyone had been warning about. The excuses stopped making sense long ago. This isn't grit. It isn't toughness. It's destruction disguised as defense. And what makes it worse is how officials let it slide, pretending these fouls were accidents instead of patterns. Each ignored call only encouraged Hartley to push further, until a career was jeopardized. But Hartley didn't just injure any player this time. She sidelined the one teammate who gave Indiana its backbone, and that left Caitlin Clark exposed in ways that would soon change everything.
As we went to commercial, Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard, and she is being helped off.
Sophie Cunningham wasn't a role player quietly filling minutes. She was the fire Indiana had been missing. She knocked down shots, hustled on defense, and most importantly, stood guard for Caitlin Clark when no one else dared. Every time Clark was hammered without a whistle, Sophie stepped in, sending the message that Indiana wasn't going to fold. She gave the Fever an edge, an identity built on toughness and loyalty. That kind of presence doesn't show up in box scores, but it changes games and shifts momentum.
Talk to Sophie Cunningham and she'll say, I'm trying to wrap her up, but I do think that's what...
Losing her isn't only about points or rebounds, it's about stripping Clark of her only protector. Now the league's most marketed star has been left exposed at the very moment opponents smell blood. And without Sophie, Indiana's already fragile season has turned into survival mode. But what's worse is this isn't just about one team's misfortune. This injury revealed a league-wide epidemic spiraling out of control. Sophie Cunningham's collapse was painful, but the bigger picture is even uglier. This season has turned into a revolving door of injuries that leave rosters looking patched together by desperation. Caitlin Clark missed more games than she played early on. Sydney Colson went down with a torn ACL. Ari McDonald broke her foot. Now Sophie's season is gone. The league parades physicality as a badge of honor, but what fans are seeing looks closer to reckless chaos. And the referees, they've been exposed as part of the problem.
Game, Sophie Cunningham went down. It did not look good. I heard her saying no from the court. It was heartbreaking. I am hoping, this is the hope, that it was more of like a bruised knee type thing. There aren't many updates as of yet, but she will be getting an MRI, so hopefully we'll hear something tomorrow. But judging by the way that the WNBA, expands on injuries, it's probably not gonna be a lot.
Cunningham was knocked down 75 feet from the basket, and instead of a whistle, she got a technical for complaining. It's incompetence hiding behind the idea of letting the game flow. But this negligence is no longer just an internal crisis. It has spilled into courts of law, where for the first time a dirty foul has turned into a lawsuit that could change the sport forever. Suspensions fade, but lawsuits leave scars that never heal. Bria Hartley isn't only sitting out games. She is now forced to defend herself in a courtroom, accused of crossing a line no athlete should ever cross. Sophie Cunningham's claim isn't about a routine foul. It's about intent, medical bills, lost salary, and the destruction of a season that can't be replaced. If the court sides with Sophie, the precedent will be seismic. Suddenly, dangerous fouls won't end with technicals or two-game suspensions. They'll end with financial penalty, lost endorsements, and reputations forever stained. For years, fans joked about suing after reckless plays. Now that future feels very real, lawyers and agents are circling, and the league is stuck in the middle of a storm it can no longer contain. But while the courtroom battle unfolds, the biggest spotlight turns to leadership. and whether the commissioner herself has the courage to face this crisis head-on. In moments of crisis, leadership defines a league. For the NBA in the late 80s and 90s, brutal fouls nearly turned the sport into a street fight. The league stepped in, tightened rules, enforced flagrant penalties, and protected stars. The result? Ratings soared, stars stayed on the court, and the product grew. The WNBA, facing almost the same problem today, has done the opposite. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert points fingers at off-season play and rest schedule, pretending injuries are about overuse instead of unchecked violence. The truth is unavoidable. Caitlin Clark didn't play overseas. Sophie Cunningham didn't either. Both are out because referees ignored dirty plays, and the league celebrated toughness as if broken bodies were a selling point. Accountability has been replaced with excuses. Fans see it, players feel it, and the longer Engelbert delays action, the louder the calls grow that this league is being run straight into disaster. At the center of it all, one name carries the heaviest burden: Caitlin Clark. Every storyline in the WNBA seems to circle back to Caitlin Clark, and the fallout from Sophie Cunningham's injury proves why. Sophie was more than a scorer. She was Clark's shield. When Clark absorbed cheap shots and officials looked away, Sophie stepped up, sending a message opponents couldn't ignore. That protection is gone, and now Clark is the most exposed star in the league. Every drive to the rim, every hard screen, carries higher risk. Opponents know Indiana lost its enforcer, and they'll test Clark's limits even more. The WNBA has marketed her as the face of the sport, but they've failed to protect the very player who drives ticket sales, viewership, and national headlines. If Clark suffers another major injury, the league's credibility takes a hit it may not recover from. And with Sophie gone, fans are left asking, how long can Clark survive in a league that refuses to shield its stars? The answer might come faster than the league is prepared for. The Sophie Cunningham injury isn't an isolated tragedy. It's a domino that threatens to topple the entire WNBA. Hartley's lawsuit doesn't just target one reckless foul. It cracks open the possibility of players dragging the league into court every time a dangerous hit ends in injury. Imagine the floodgates opening. Damages, settlements, endorsements pulled, reputations shredded before judges instead of referees. Agents are already whispering about new protections. Sponsors are asking if this league is safe to invest in. And fans are tired of watching injury reports pile up while stars vanish from the floor. The credibility of the WNBA is now hanging by a thread, with chaos replacing competition and lawsuits replacing highlights. The league once promised growth and stability, but with every ignored foul and every sidelined star, that promise looks emptier. The truth is unavoidable. The WNBA isn't facing a tough season, it's facing an existential crisis. But the real breaking point still lingers in one unanswered question. Bria Hartley sits suspended and sued, her name cemented as the league's dirtiest player. Sophie Cunningham's season, and perhaps her role as Indiana's enforcer, is gone in an instant. Caitlin Clark, the league's most valuable star, is now left exposed without protection, and the WNBA's leadership stands accused of negligence, making excuses instead of enforcing accountability. This isn't a storyline about one foul. It's the unraveling of a league that refuses to learn from history. The NBA once faced the same storm and fixed it. The WNBA chose to ignore it. And now the result is chaos spilling into courtrooms and leaving fans questioning the league's future. The lawsuit against Hartley is more than a legal battle. It's a test of whether this league can survive its own recklessness. Like, subscribe, and comment if Hartley should never step on a WNBA floor again, because the next player carried off the court might be the one the league can't afford to lose.